Okay, so have you ever tried to really wrap your head around one of those issues where everyone's got strong opinions and it's just like a ton of information to sort through?
Oh, yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
know what you mean.
Well, that's kind of what we're getting into today. We're looking at all this stuff about pro-Israel influence on college campuses in America, especially what happened recently at Columbia University with the arrest of that student activist Mahmoud Khalil.
Yeah, it definitely highlights a big tension that keeps coming up.
Right, like a really core conflict.
And exactly.
So the main thing that jumps out from what we've been reading is this conflict between wanting to combat anti-Semitism, obviously that's so important, and the worry that some of the actions taken might actually be going too far, you know?
Yeah.
Like maybe it's starting to infringe on free speech and academic freedom.
Yeah. I mean, that comes through so clearly right away. It's like this real clash between these two really important ideas.
Right. And then there's Miriam Adelson. She keeps popping up in everything we're looking at, and she's got a ton of financial and political power.
Oh, for sure. She's a major player.
Yeah, and she's the head of that Maccabee task force.
Right. The Maccabee Task Force. And they get all this funding from Adelson.
Mm.
And they say their whole mission is to fight anti-Semitism. But here's the thing. One of the big criticisms is that they seem way more focused on just discrediting the BDS movement and silencing any pro-Palestinian voices.
Yeah. So the question is, are they really just going after actual anti-Semitism, or is there something else going on here? Are they trying to shut down other perspectives too?
It makes you wonder,
It
right?
really does.
Like, where do you draw the line?
Totally. And that kind of gets to how we're even defining anti-Semitism these days.
Right. It's like, what does that term even mean anymore?
Exactly, because the source material actually talks about this idea of the weaponization of anti-Semitism, and the worry is that while real anti-Semitism is obviously a huge problem, sometimes that label gets thrown around so much that it ends up lumping legitimate criticism of the Israeli government together with actual hatred towards Jewish people.
Right. It's like you need to be able to tell the difference between those two things if you want to have any kind of productive conversation.
And it creates this really tricky situation on college campuses. If students and faculty are afraid that speaking up for Palestinian rights could get them labeled as anti-Semitic.
Yeah, it just shuts down all the debate.
Right. It totally stifles open discussion and the free exchange of ideas, which is kind of the whole point of a university, isn't it?
Exactly.
And taking a bigger picture view, the source material is really concerned about this potential full-on assault on academic freedom, especially with all the stuff going on at Columbia.
Yeah. It's getting pretty intense.
Yeah, they're talking about taking away federal funding and demanding more surveillance.
Which, what does that even mean in practice? You know?
Totally. And then there's that whole thing about having external people supervising the Middle Eastern Studies department.
Ooh, that's a huge red flag.
Right. It seems like they're trying to control what's being taught and talked about from the outside, and that could really limit critical perspectives on such a complicated and controversial region.
It's like they don't trust the academics to do their jobs.
Exactly.
And that takes us to the bigger implications for higher education in general.
Right. What does this mean for universities everywhere?
Well, the source is suggesting that this growing influence from rich donors and political groups could end up undermining the whole idea of universities as these independent places for learning and critical thinking.
It's a scary thought.
And then think about what this might mean for international students and scholars.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
If they start to feel like academic inquiry is being limited by political agendas, why would they come study here?
Right. They'd go somewhere else.
Exactly.
So what's the main takeaway here?
I think the big thing the source keeps hammering on is that everyone needs to be paying attention to this.
Everyone, students, faculty, the public.
Yeah, everyone, we all need to be super vigilant about protecting academic freedom and the principles of open inquiry. It's so important. And it all comes down to being able to separate genuine hate speech, which is never okay, from viewpoints that are legitimate, even if they're critical.
That's such a key point.
Yeah, you can disagree with someone without automatically calling them anti-Semitic.
Exactly.
So the source wraps up by basically saying, look, fighting anti-Semitism is absolutely crucial, but you can't use that as an excuse to silence people who disagree with you or to mess with the core principles of academic freedom.
Right. It's all about finding that balance.
Exactly, if we want our universities to stay healthy and vibrant.
It really is a lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
And it kind of leaves us with this question, knowing that we have to fight all forms of hate speech, but we also have to protect open dialogue on campus. Where exactly do we draw those lines?
Right. Where's that boundary?
Because those boundaries seem like they're always shifting these days.
That really do.
It feels like this conversation is just getting started for a lot of us.
I think you're right.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.